Teenagers of Reddit, have you ever had a teacher so dumb you questioned how they got the job as a teacher? My French teacher only spoke Spanish and asked us students, grade 8 at the time, for help with her French. It was wild. I also had a teacher in high school that fought with a Jewish student about which foods were considered kosher food and non-kosher food. Pretty sure the student knew what's up. That lady was nuts. Currently have a professor in college that is so freaking disorganized it's ridiculous. Having a hard time figuring out how and why she is still a prof. She's like 60 and had no idea smartphones can take pictures. She was mind blown when we were taking pictures of the day's lecture. I had a teacher in elementary school that didn't know basic math. I couldn't ask her for help because of that and had to figure it on my own, then teach my teacher math. I never understood how she got the job. Yes, this was back when I was in elementary school. We had this one teacher that was kinda dumb. One day one of the students asked her, have you ever seen a narwhal or something around the lines of that, but she processed to say that they are not real. The student said look one up on Google. She did. When she saw the images and held her statement by saying that they aren't real and that they are probably photoshopped. Aced a test, got an F for asking for the toilet after I was finished the test. Oh yeah, we had a grade 12 English teacher that had absolutely no clue what she was doing. All she did was talk about her little dogs. The only real assignment we got was to pick a book from the library and write a report on every chapter and hand it in at the end of the semester. And by then end of the semester she had totally forgotten about it. Where do I even begin? When I was 7, teacher and dogs are me, omnivore? Teacher, no they are carnivore. Me, but I saw in TV that they have teeth used to chew vegetables like us and that a little bit of vegetables and fruits are good for them. Teacher, mad as frick, then give him meat and see if it doesn't eat it me. Yeah, they are omnivore, so they will eat it too. She didn't have me the good behavior chocolate that week when I was 12 or so. We had a hellish teacher that talked way too much about religion and torture for someone who doesn't reach the subject. We actually started asking deep religious questions when we weren't in the mood to study cause he would waste the whole class talking about it. And we could do whatever quietly. He once got freaking mad like mad when a girl said Happy Easter to him because there is no happiness in Jesus dying. He also called the same student a lesbian for sitting on the lap of her friend. Told her to stop it or people would talk. In my country that amount of skinship is pretty okay. And she was a kid. Had a teacher in college who would just talk about prostitutes every class. No reason. No provocation. Just say something about prostitutes in the middle of the lecture. She was a woman, but this is still creepy. Another teacher said we should answer the tests in the most direct way possible, 15 lines maximum. Got my test back with a rockish grade because it lacks details. The only person who got the full points did a 2-page detailed and redundant essay. He talked about how he wanted it short 4 weeks before the test and literally right before it. I hate this pig. We had a year 12 calculus teacher who added 7 and 5 and got 14. Her eyes went in completely different directions and she gave a kid detention because she failed to provide a chair for him, so he sat on a textbook covering the top of the rubbish bin, and the bin collapsed. Our class usually liked the religion teacher, however one time he said that he didn't believe in evolution because he doesn't identify with monkeys. Of course that's because trough evolution we became a different species. I have a graphic design class, took it because I was told it was easy. The teacher literally believes the moon landing was fake, thinks the earth is flat, and doesn't even teach. He uploads YouTube Photoshop tutorials to Google Classroom and essentially just says follow the tutorial and turn it in. I'm more concerned with the fact that we are not his only class. Not as a teenager, but in job school. My politics teacher was a freaking joke. The only thing he did was giving us worksheets which he got from the internet, probably for free, and while we tried to complete them, he was in the back of the class and did shit with his iPad. Most of the time he didn't even know the correct answers to the worksheets. We had one test in this class, and it was about recent news. We should just watch the news to study. There was a freaking soccer question. Like, what was the score of the match? Gosh, I got so mad. Thank goodness that we only had this class once every 2 weeks for 1 semester. I hated that lazy piece of shit. Years ago in high school I had this science teacher who was completely useless. He spent every lesson reading from a textbook and having us copy it down. After about half a year he disappeared and we were given a decent sub. Turns out he wasn't even a teacher and had got the job because nobody ever checked his background. He ended up getting arrested where we finally found out he was a conman. Little context, I'm from the Philippines and English isn't the native language, but is almost as widely used in the country. In fact, the Philippines is one of the countries who speak the language fluently along with native speakers. But oh god, I had this teacher who taught our English class in grade 10, but was almost always grammatically incorrect and spelled words wrong a lot of times. I don't judge people who have a hard time constructing a sentence in the language, because as I've said, it wasn't the mother tongue, but actually teaching it? That's a whole different level. Once, our top student at that time, who was a little more advanced than the rest of us, once contradicted her, but she got mad and got so defensive that she shut him up and made him sit down. We researched the lesson and found out our classmate was right. I was so frustrated that year and apparently news flew to the administration and she got transferred the next year. It was just shitty that we had to endure a whole freaking year with her having not a single thing learned. When I was 19 in university, my biology teacher, who had a PhD, refused to teach evolution because she was a creationist Christian. She was required to have an evolution lecture, so she had another professor come give it, but she sat in the front, and if anyone asked a question she would glare at them. I don't know how she got a freaking degree, let alone became a college professor. My art teacher in elementary, whenever I would draw something, I would work my ass off. Then she would give me shit about it lacking texture, shading, or it wasn't round enough for her. Keep in mind this is from kindergarten to 5th grade. It would get to the point where I was so frustrated that I was crying and she wouldn't do shit. She's acting like she expects us to have college art skills. She was the same with my sister as well. I hope she's not teaching anymore. My year 10th physics teacher, 9th grade. Physics was my weakest subject throughout school, so I tended to ask quite a few questions. I would always try working it out by myself first, by using the 2 books we were given, but sometimes had to go ask the teacher BC I just wasn't getting it. She would always tell me to refer back to my book. What does the book say? Hold on, let me look in the book. How did you become a physics teacher if you can't explain anything without a book? It got to the point where I stopped asking her anything BC she was zero help. My old German teacher was similar, in that he never told us anything. He would tell us the definition of a word like once, and then if I asked he'd go we went over this earlier, freaking pissed me off. He either got fired for being shit or quit, because the rest of my class basically bullied him out. Recently found out he wasn't even an actual German teacher. He was a college math professor who apparently just happened to know German. New teacher is fun though. I had an older chemistry teacher in high school, probably about 50 to 60, that was just about oblivious to everything around him, aside from just being totally disorganized in the order he taught things. So most of his lectures made no sense as we didn't have context as to what came before. Here's just a general list of his escapades. Kids would be lighting up metal tongs on the Bunsen burners and fight each other with them. One kid got a nipple flap in his shirt. That was pretty funny. One kid would dump all the chemicals he got a hold of in a beaker in the far corner of the classroom after each experiment. He was so inept at teaching that once on a test that he never really taught material for, was caught handing out random grades to all the students. Often did homework the same way, as some kids didn't even turn phys in and would get A's and B's. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but that's the brunt of it. Not sure what happened to him as that was my last class my senior year. If you want to get nothing, you can join my Discord to give video suggestions or just talk. Link in description.